This day marks when in 1965, young Pakistani nation stood up to defend its sovereignty and independence against far bigger aggressor neighbor, namely India. On 6 September 65, an open war was forced onto us when Indian forces crossed into Pakistan international border with clear intent of overrunning Pakistan and establishing physical hegemony forever. This was not to happen. Our armed forces and civil defense stood to pledge call to fight against all odds to defend their motherland. They fought with not only exemplary courage, but wrote a new chapter in military excellence. Although this 5-week war was fought on Kashmir issue, but in the end it was meant to protect our homeland. As a result of unprecedented valor displayed by our civil and military forces and their successes against Indian forces, United Nations had to mandate ceasefire. Most nations in their history of existence have to defend their right to exist against such things. These moments become milestones for a nation, and these milestones are ever remembered and ever celebrated, like we are celebrating today as the Defense Day of Pakistan. Ladies and gentlemen, 6 September and the memorial we hold every year is not about only the war. You may or may not know, we don't celebrate any of our war general, any admiral, or any air marshal as such. We do not show their photographs on TV, neither are there any songs about their heroism and strategic vision, which they did have. What we celebrate every year is the courage and selfless devotion of our many countrymen who did not hesitate to give their lives when the country needed them. We show and discuss field heroes from civil and military alike. The songs we sing and play are for them and many like them. This is the day to thank the nameless and faceless thousands who were ready to jump into fire so that no harm may come to this country. With this, I thank you all once again. Now I would request Colonel Zulfikar, the Army and Air Advisor, to give our distinguished guests a brief insight on the Pakistan's ongoing combat effort for peace and stability, not only inside Pakistan, but at regional and extra-regional level.
The Pakistani nation and the armed forces stood united to defeat a much larger aggressor, albeit who was a conventional enemy. Today we face a very different enemy, but the good news for Pakistan and the world is that the nation and the armed forces of Pakistan are once again united to fight against this menace which threatens the very fabric of Pakistani society. The reason to give you this brief is twofold. I know some of you have heard bits of it, but for those people it's to give you an update, and obviously there are others who haven't heard of this about Pakistan Army's and military's contribution against the war on terror. This is just a slide to show where we were at the start of Operation Enduring Freedom back in 2001-2. The green represents areas with full Pakistan government control. Red is where we didn't have much of a control, and yellow represents areas where there was contested control. And you can see this is a map of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, so just the northwest province of Pakistan. And you can see much of it is green in 2001-2. As we started progressing, Operation Enduring Freedom started in Afghanistan, and you could gradually see the influx of militants and terrorists first into the area which we know as the foothills of Tora Bora, North Waziristan, South Waziristan, and then up into Bajor, Momand, and finally to Swat and Dir in 2007-8. And that was the time when obviously the situation became quite worrisome. And this is how the map of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa looked back in 2007-8. So a lot of the greens had been converted into reds and yellows, and obviously Pakistan Army and the nation were facing an uphill task to uproot these militants from our soil, especially in face of the fact that Swat and Dir are not tribal areas, but settled areas. As a result of this, a concerted effort was made, military operations were conducted, and over the last 8 to 10 years, this is where we've come. So today, Pakistan Army has deployed over 180,000 troops on our western border, and my military friends in the audience can appreciate these numbers. And as a result of the operations that we conducted, this is the situation that was on ground come June of 2014. So again, a lot of the reds and the yellows had been converted into green. The writ of the state had been established in most of these areas, barring some pockets of resistance in North Waziristan Agency and Khyber Agency. And this is the reason why Operation Zarb-e-Azb was launched in North Waziristan and Khyber to eliminate the remaining pockets of resistance of militants. In the process, we have managed to kill, capture, or injure over 30,000 militants and terrorists, but all of this has come at a great cost, not just to the nation, but especially the military. We've lost over 4,700 soldiers, and this includes a 3-star general, 3 2-star generals, and 6 1-star general officers. And we have over 15,000 soldiers injured, many of whom are amputees and cannot return to battle. So this is the cost that Pakistan Armed Forces have paid. Specifically onto Operation Zarb-e-Azb, which we started in June last year. And this is the slide which I've already shown. This is where we were June of last year. And since then, this is just the way the operation has unfolded. And phase-wise, the Pakistan Army has gone in with the Air Force, with the help of the Air Force, the airstrikes from them, and clearing the area gradually, moving towards, starting from the inner areas, the communication centers, moving towards the border areas with Afghanistan. And as we speak today, the red portion shows the Shawal Valley, where the operation, as we stand here today, is ongoing. And we are very confident in the next few months we should hear the good news that these areas, which is the final pocket of resistance, has also been cleared. But again, this has also come at a high cost to the army. We've lost 389 officers and men, but over 1,500 have been injured. But in the process, we have killed nearly 3,000 militants and terrorists. These are just a few snapshots of the weapons and ammunition and arms which have been recovered from the militants and terrorists during this operation. Just to give you a sense of the kind of enemy that we face, or that we did face. If you just look at these tunnels, how well dug they were, nearly 4 kilometers of tunnels, and military men again in the audience would appreciate how difficult it is to clear such tunnels, what it takes to do that. Explosives, underground torture cells. This is, as you all know, the Taliban are very media savvy, very good in the propaganda campaigns, and this is what we found when we carried out raids of these areas. This was the brainwashing or the planning room, and this was also the area from where the spokesman of Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan used to give his speeches and talks, and we could recognize this because of the background of the room. Improvised explosive devices. But I would be remiss if I did not mention the efforts of the Navy and the Air Force, especially if my boss is from the Navy. So talking about the Navy first, the Pakistan Navy joined the US-led multinational coalition, the Combined Task Force 150, and we've been part of this 8 times. We've been part of this many times, but we've commanded this 7 times, and currently we are commanding this task force for the 8th time. 59 destroyers and frigates have participated in the Coalition Maritime Campaign Plan since 2004. The Pakistan Navy also joined the Combined Task Force 151 in the year 2009 to counter and eliminate the growing menace of piracy. And since then, we've commanded this operation 6 times. 28 Navy ships, frigates and destroyers have participated in these operations. In 2011, the Navy proudly and professionally rescued the crew aboard MV Suez, which was hijacked by the pirates. And it's also in the forefront on the humanitarian side and has conducted many operations, the last of which was the operation to evacuate people from the Yemeni crisis, and this included nearly 200 people, including 4 UK nationals. I asked the Air Force what they wanted me to talk about them. They said just show some photographs of the aeroplanes and the air chief, and that would suffice. So this is about the Air Force. This is basically very, very symbolic. So the air chief of Pakistan Air Force, Suhail Aman, has himself led the recent campaign, the bombing campaign against militant hideouts in Shawal Valley. So he's been in the F-16 flying those bombing raids, and you can imagine what kind of motivating factor that is for the other Air Force troops. And these are just a few pictures of him leading that campaign. So I'll leave this, the last slide with you to consider. We've got a strength of over 183,000 on our western borders, and compared it with the coalition and the NATO forces at their peak had about 150,000 troops in the entire of Afghanistan. We are just talking about our western border. Over 4,500 fatalities for the Pakistani armed forces. Compare that with 3,500 fatalities put together for all coalition countries in Afghanistan. And if I might dare to say that, but I would, that Pakistan's northwest tribal areas are perhaps the only region where the battle against the militants and terrorists is being won today, if you look around the world. So the conclusion for me would be, and I'm sure you agree with me, Pakistan is committed to bringing peace in the region. The situation in Afghanistan remains volatile, and Pakistan military remains that force which brings stability to this area. And peaceful resolution of the conflict is linked to a regional solution inside Afghanistan. Thank you very much.
Your presence here this evening to join us for our 50th anniversary of the Defense Day of Pakistan is really appreciated. Thank you very much. Standing there, I was just wondering that I do not wish to be insensitive to the guests who have come this evening representing the military and the Navy, because I am in a dilemma that at the moment we have 2 deans. One is the Dean of the Naval Attaches and the other is the Dean of the Army Advisors, whom to recognize first, because I do not want to create a diplomatic incidents here, but nonetheless, I would say it's a unique honor for Pakistan High Commission to have 2 doyens at the same time. I think it's a very rare thing, and I commend my colleagues for their professionalism, for their dedication, and I thank them for a job very well done. Ladies and gentlemen, very briefly, Pakistan throughout the course of its history, due to its strategic location, has constantly remained at the crossroads of regional and international challenges. Accordingly, Pakistan has always remained a security challenged state since its inception in 1947. Our internal political evolution and foreign alignments have been greatly influenced by our enduring quest for security. This security dimension carved out a critical role for the armed forces in our national affairs. Our armed forces have played a commendable role during war and peace, during natural disasters like earthquakes, floods, and others. Armed forces have always played a crucial role in the help of the civilian authorities. Similarly, in matters of internal security, like you heard Colonel Bhatti just now, the current fight against terrorism in our tribal areas for the last 15 months is a relentless military operation named Zarb-e-Azm against terrorists and forces of darkness, which is progressing very well. The operation, nearing completion, has a huge cost in shape of men and material. But we have happily rendered the sacrifices to secure our country and indeed the world. In the process, just a couple of days ago, we also became one of the very few countries in the world to have developed an indigenous drone which was used first time ever 2 days ago in the tribal areas of Pakistan against the terrorists against whom we are waging a war since last 15 months. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by saying that the nation stands shoulder to shoulder with our armed forces in their commendable efforts to defend the country from any aggression and to rid our society from the terrorists whose nefarious designs are to spread hate and cause destruction in the country and beyond. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Pakistan, Pakistan. Yes, very proud to be here on this auspicious occasion with my brother from another mother.
It's excellent that the embassy is holding such events, and we must commemorate the most important defense day in Pakistan, like that took place in '65. We cannot let go of armed forces and the efforts that they've made to protect Pakistan in every regard. So we're delighted to be here, and it's excellent.
Pakistan, as my friend mentioned, is going through a very sort of trying times, as you can say, and may God be with them all the way, and I wish them lots of success. Thank you.
Pakistan Zindabad.
Every community here, they are really love with Pakistan, and we believe that is Pakistan and Britain together, and we love Britain as well, because we are love Britain and Pakistan.
I am Captain Dr. Shabir Qureshi. I am 71 war veteran. I was officer commanding in Zafarwal sector while we were fighting with India to protect our country. And I was awarded Sitara Harb and Tamga Jang for my services. And Pakistani soldiers, they sacrificed for the country, for the nation. And at least now people can appreciate. We not only work for Pakistan, we also help different other countries like Saudi Arabia, Libya, even Britain. We helped them when they went to Afghanistan and Iraq. So Pakistani army services are recognized, and that is the most disciplined and one of the best armies in the world. And now, luckily, we have got latest equipment. In '72, I provided medical cover to head of state Zulfikar Bhutto, and he came to ask me, Captain, how is morale? And we had a discussion, and he reassured me that, Captain Shabir, I will give you atom bomb one day, and then no one can look at Pakistan. And since then, India had no courage to even think of any war with Pakistan. And that is the best deterrent what President Bhutto has given to the nation, to the country. And inshallah, we will be very successful. But I can tell you one thing, I am the first Pakistani who was appointed as a judge in General Medical Council in UK. So Pakistanis are not only serving their own country, they are serving Great Britain. I have been tutor in London Deanery, teaching doctors. I have been teaching King's College medical students, Imperial College medical students. I have been their examiner. And 10 years I worked as adjudicator in General Medical Council. I am basically trained ear, nose and throat surgeon. So basically Pakistani nation has produced so many good soldiers, and they provided services in different countries. I served in Saudi Arabia as aviation medicine specialist, provided medical cover to British Air Force and Saudi Air Force. So this is what is my own example. I'm not the only one. There are several Pakistanis who are like me. They are brilliant, and I can assure you Pakistanis are looking after the poverty and poor people in the world, and they're the first people to serve the humanity. Thank you.
I think what the Pakistani nation today is seeing is that the spirit that we had back in 1965 when we defeated a much larger enemy, though it was a conventional enemy, that spirit is again visible in Pakistan today. The people of Pakistan stand united with the armed forces, and once this unity is visible, I think no force can defeat Pakistan. And we are very confident that by the grace of God, inshallah, we should be able to defeat these forces of darkness, the terrorists, the militants who seek to undermine the very fabric of Pakistan. But we are very confident that we will defeat these forces.